And I'm back with Tara McNamara to talk a little bit more about this pre-code version of Waterloo Bridge. First of all, we have to talk a little bit more about Bette Davis, because even in a tiny role, I think her third film, she sparkles.
Yeah, you can't miss her.
And she says all the time on the set, she was like, I want to play Myra. She wanted that part.
She would be so great, but it's her third movie ever, so slow your roll, Betty. You'll get there.
Yeah, she had time for the career to grow. But when you watch a movie like this, you do think, as you kind of alluded to before we watched it, how did this even get through the censors, even in the time when the production code was not being strictly enforced? So what accounts for that?
Yeah, so what their determination was, it is amply shown that only grief and unhappiness can come from a life of immorality, right? That's the message. So that's why they let it through. It also kind of connects with some of the values that the Hays Code had in it. They really wanted to see people having integrity, personal responsibility. So you see different moments where Myra is showing this. Like, for instance, Roy is in her apartment. He's offering to pay her rent. Take the rent. That's why you have him there. But in his eyes, she's untarnished. He doesn't realize. And so then she doesn't want him to see her that way. And so that's kind of a moment of taking personal responsibility, not taking the money from her mark. And then later, the whole reason, like, he wants to marry you. All your problems are solved. Just do it, right? But she knows, like, he and his lovely family, they'll find out. It will become known. And then they'll be shamed. She doesn't want to do that to them. She has integrity.
Yeah.
So these are the kind of attitudes and behaviors they wanted the public to emulate, because the Hays office thought that, look, films can certainly be used to society's detriment, and it could also be used for society's betterment.
And one thing I know we're going to encounter a lot when we talk about a lot of these pre-code films is that after the code was strictly enforced in 1934, a lot of these films applied for recertification, right? And it didn't always go so well. What happened in this case?
Yeah, in fact, it didn't even get through some of the local censor boards. Chicago, Ohio, and Pennsylvania eliminated anything that showed that Myra was a prostitute.
How long was the movie?
Exactly. I mean, it really kind of takes away the impact of the story if that's the case. So when they reapply in 1936 for certification, they're just told, absolutely not. That's not happening. So a few years go by, MGM says, I think we can do something with this. They buy the rights and they make it a vehicle for Vivien Leigh in her post Gone with the Wind appearance.
What a perfect segue, Tara. Well, stick around, because coming up next, we have the movie that she's talking about, the 1940 version of Waterloo Bridge starring Vivien Leigh. Don't go anywhere.